Tuia ki runga, tuia ki raro, tuia ki roto, tuia ki waho. Ka rongo te ao, ka rongo te pō, haume, hui e, tā iki e. A tēnā tātou katoa, e mihi tuatahi ki te tātou nei kingi Mauri ko kingi tū heitea, pōta tau te whero te tuawhitu. E noho ana I runga te ahuriwa tapu ona mātua tūpuna, rire hou, pai mārire kia rātou mā. Kia tātou katoa, I te hunga ora, I hui mai nei, tēnei pō nau mai whakatau mai. Whakatau mai ki te kingitanga, whakatau mai ki te wāhi tawhito o Ngāti Haua, o Ngāti Wairere. Whakatau mai ki te whare wānango Waikato, e hoa mā, e whānau mā, kia ora tātou. E mihi ana ki te kaupapa o te pō nei, ko te 3 minute kōrero, me nā kai kōrero I te pō nei, toku mihi, toku karakia, kia rātou mā, mō reira, tēnā tātou. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome us all to the concert chamber at the University of Waikato. We acknowledge the Mauri King and also those who lived here traditionally in ancient times and also now, Ngāti Wairere and Ngāti Haua. We acknowledge our occasion that we've been gathered here tonight to hear from some wonderful participants and those completing their PhD studies and also what they'll share. We acknowledge our kaiwhakawa, our judges, and also my relation, Wirumu Puke, who carved the taonga that's given away to the winner this evening. Nō reira, tēnā tātou, kia ora tātou katoa.
Tēnā koe, whetu. Well, at last, after rehearsals, after the heats and the hype, we are here at the 3MT Finals, so hooray. Ko Linda Johnson tōku ingoa. I'm your MC for the evening, and when I'm not MCing, I'm a Professor of Geography and Assistant Vice-Chancellor Sustainability here at Te Whare Wānanga o Waikato. So a huge thanks to all of you who have come to support our finalists here tonight. Your support means a huge amount to the finalists and to all of us here as a community. I really have a keen interest in this competition because, like you all, I love to hear about what is happening with these inspiring PhD candidates. And also, like you, I'm in awe of the power of presentation. So these 3MT finalists, they showcase our PhD stars in their ability to communicate ideas, engage and prompt the audience, you, to consider new ways of researching in their fields. So I was recently reminded how the power of presentation can communicate ideas and grab the attention of many people when I was at the movie Barbie. So how many people here have been to Barbie? Few yes, hands up, nodding. It is sweeping the world. So part spoof, part fantasy, part Barbie doll, virtual museum. I have to admit, I was sceptical about going to see it. I never had a Barbie. As a child, I was given a doll, but didn't want to play with it. But to the movies I went, and it was as much ironic as iconic. My favourite characters were the outcasts, Weird Barbie and Ellen, who, of course, saved Barbies from patriarchy. Let's see if that continues. At the end, Barbie, spoiler alert, for those who haven't seen it, opts for gender-affirming surgery. So this seems like a movie for everyone. I was really delighted. So the power of the movie then is that it operates as a vehicle for discussion of many gender and power themes. And tonight, we may not have anyone speaking about Barbie, but the power of our 3MT presentations are that they too operate as vehicles for the discussion of groundbreaking research and new ideas. So before we get to their presentations, I'd like to first welcome our Professor Karen Bryan, the Dean of School of Graduate Research, to address us.
Well, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to the Thesis in 3. And we're in the Playhouse again. Fabulous. Last time we were small, people wouldn't want to come out, and we were in the smaller room, and this is way better. Don't know if our contestants will think it's better, but our proper stage is fabulous. So I am the Dean of Te Mata Kairangi, the School of Graduate Research, and if you don't already know who we are, we look after the 660-odd doctoral students at the university. Well, of course, with their supervisors and their families who really do the lion's share of the work. So Linda introduced by a movie, and I too like movies. And last weekend, I went to see the movie Oppenheimer, which I really enjoyed. And I enjoyed because I felt it was an ode to being an academic. It really tried to bring those visions that inspired those researchers who are at the cutting edge of physics. And I guess what I found most interesting was Oppenheimer's best skills were not his academic prowess. And if you read his biography, you'll actually find he was quite mathematically sloppy. And he actually couldn't stick to one idea very well. But what he was really good at was communicating and inspiring others to succeed. And that's, of course, what he became known for, leading the Manhattan Project. But there's one great scene in the movie where he starts teaching relativity in a new class at Berkeley. And at that stage, no one knew about relativity, so it was a bit odd. And he only had one student enrolled in his class. And then cut a little bit later in the movie, and his room is packed out because he managed to make people believe relativity was important. He really could communicate. Anyways, back to us. So part of the work we do in the school involves delivering a doctoral program which helps students to develop their skills, not only succeeding in their doctoral qualifications, but also skills that will help them to go on and work in, for an example, research, government, the corporate environment, not-for-profit organizations, or actually any role that they choose. And of all the skills that they need to develop, communication skills are the most important. If we can't communicate and explain people the significance of what we do and why we do it, and the value and the outcome of our research, then our research will never see the light of day. So the 3-minute competition is about the art of communicating research to an interested, but not necessarily specialized audience. It's also for us about celebrating the exciting research that we're doing with our PhD students, and the PhD students are doing at the University of Waikato. It is our pleasure to present this research to you tonight. The 3MT is not just a Waikato event, it's a global competition. It originated at the University of Queensland in Australia in 2008. I don't know if anyone remembers 2008, but that was a year of incredible droughts in Australia. Actually, I went to visit Brisbane at that time, and all through Brisbane, they hadn't planted any of the gardens there because it was a drought. And to conserve water, the residents were encouraged to time their showers. And many people had this 3-minute egg timer fixed to the wall of their bathroom. The then Dean of the University of Queensland Graduate School noticed this and thought, well, what can be achieved in 3 minutes? And the idea of the 3MT competition was born. The year after, it was promoted around Australian and New Zealand universities, and that's when Waikato first became involved. And since then, we have sent winners of our individual competitions at each university in the Trans-Tasman 3MT. The competition is now held at over 600 countries and institutions across 59 countries worldwide. And in 2016, we brought in a select number of Asian universities, and it's now called the Asia Pacific 3MT competition. The rules are the same all over the world. We don't like them because it's hard. The candidates have 3 minutes to captivate the audience and give them a general understanding of what research is about. They're allowed 1 slide, and it has to be static, and it should be pitched to a non-specialist but intelligent audience, that's you guys. Each presentation will be judged by a panel of academic and non-academic people looking at the 3 areas of judging: comprehension, engagement, and communications. So now I'll hand you back to our MC, Professor Linda Johnson, who will introduce you to your judges and explain the details in a little more detail. But before I do, I want to thank you all very much for coming. We are delighted to host you back in the Playhouse. And we are really want to hear from our 10 students that are waiting nervously backstage, who are studying for the highest academic qualification it's possible to obtain. I'd also like to thank our advisors at the School of Graduate Research and the events team. They've put a lot of work into planning this, managing all the communication training and competition heats that we've got. Thank you to our very honorable judges. Very appreciative that you've taken the time. And thank you once again, and I hope you enjoy the evening.
Fabulous. So it's really my pleasure to introduce the judges to you. They are on a table in the middle of the room there. We have Parekawhia McLean, and Parekawhia is Chief Executive of Criminal Cases Review Commission. She's held executive roles at Counties Manukau, DHB, Waikato Kotahi, and Chief Executive of Waikato Tainui. Has been an advisor for 3 Prime Ministers. Also, Parekawhia has a master's degree from social science here at the University of Waikato. She's also a distinguished alumni of our university, so thank you so much for being here, Parekawhia. Our other judge, Dr. Mike Scarsbrook. Mike is a science manager at Waikato Regional Council, where he manages a team of 30 dedicated environmental scientists. And during his career has worked for NIWA, Dairy NZ, Fonterra, now Waikato Regional Council. Very much interested in the effects of agriculture on New Zealand's rivers. Thank you so much, Mike, for being here and doing this important job. And our third judge is Rachel Awhika, and is here with us tonight is Pacific, Tongan, Samoan, and Ngāti Awa descent. And Rachel's governance is underpinned by values of integrity, goodwill, and excellence, and strategically influences and encourages diverse discussions to bridge build for purposes of socio-economic prosperity for communities, businesses, and government for global impact. So we're really delighted to have such excellent a judges team with us tonight. Thank you so much for giving up your time to this. Very importantly, we have a timekeeper. Hera Pulham is here from the School of Graduate Research. Hold your hand up right there. You'll see that Hera actually has an iPad, and keeping the time, of course, is vital for this competition. So the contestants can see the time. They can also see when there's 30 seconds to go. There'll be an orange card that is held up, and they'll know how much time they have left. So thank you so much for doing that really important job. Here's how it works. We will have, at the end of tonight, we'll have an overall winner. The winner gets $1,000 and a beautiful trophy, which we'll discuss when we get closer to awarding that. The runner-up prize, $500 for the runner-up. And also you'll see in your program, and there'll be a big screen display of a QR code. There's a People's Choice Award. So when we go into intermission, please choose the presenter who you would most like to receive the People's Choice Award. You'll have about 20 minutes to do that in the intermission. And also our people online can do that as well, so do put in your request for who you'd like to see that to go to. The competition will run this way. Each finalist has 3 minutes, and as we count down to that, they'll be right in front of our timekeeper. At the end of 3 minutes, as Karen said, the presenter has to stop speaking or risk elimination. For this time, when people are speaking, do make sure, double check your phone is off now, And no movement, if you can help that, between while people are presenting. There'll be times to talk after the presentation is over, and because judges will need some time to write their notes between each presenter, please feel free to talk amongst yourselves and while we wait for that next speaker. So that's how we'll do it, and I'm really excited to get this underway. So for what we'll do now is that I'll introduce the first finalist, and then after they speak, I'll introduce each other one following them when they leave the stage, the next one. So the student, to remind you, will speak for 3 minutes. We'll probably get through each presenter around 6 minutes. So let us begin with the presentations. This is why we're here. Okay, so our first presenter is Jessica Leov, and Jessica is hanging right in the wings right now, so she's about to join us. Thank you, Jessica.
What do you think you can see if you're inside the womb? I ask because we're actually in the dark when it comes to understanding how our vision develops during pregnancy. For my research, I work with fetuses. I study how they engage with their visual world and what that can tell us about our abilities prior to birth. Now, if you're going to study vision, you usually look to eyes and eye movements. Good news, fetuses have eyes, but they are slightly inaccessible. So how do we do it? Well, I use 2D ultrasound, and that's what you're looking at today. This is a 2D ultrasound of a fetal head. Let me orientate you. We're looking in what we call the transverse section. So it's a bird's eye view, and we're coming down through the top of the layers to about here. The 2 black circles you can see, they're the fetus's eyes, and within the eye, where the red arrow is pointing, is a white dot. That's the fetal lens. Now, I get really excited when I see this, because as the fetus moves its eyes around, the lens moves too. This means that I can track in real time where a fetus looks and how long they look at something for. And I use this, and I give fetuses a little bit of a light show. I present lights in different patterns and orientations to the maternal skin, which goes through to the fetus, and I record how they respond. My experiments ask questions like, if I present a light to the side of the fetus's face, do I see more eye movements than if I present it in the front? I can ask about their preferences. Do fetuses prefer to look at certain patterns more, like faces or different types of movement? I can even ask about memory. Can fetuses remember where I've presented a light in the past? And will they look there again in the future? Taken together, I hope to build a comprehensive picture of fetal vision. Why? Well, our knowledge of this area is embryonic. And if I can work out what typical responses are, it means I can also work out what atypical responses are. And that's really important for the medical field, for early interventions, ensuring the best possible health outcomes for our pepe. As a developmental psychologist, it's so exciting because I'm getting to see the origin story of vision. What are those foundational building blocks that we have, that we use to understand sight? By shining a light on fetal visual perception, I have another piece of the puzzle that helps us understand how we grow into the amazing, complex human beings that we are. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. We'll give judges some time, and always difficult to go first, but we are underway, and we're getting the next one ready. So we'll just wait a few minutes before we call the next one on. Okay, well, I think we can go to our second presenter. I'm delighted to welcome Christian Kimeyi to the stage. Christian is speaking to Music and Science, Improving Student Engagement through Art and Electronics.
First scenario, you are fighting in the Russian Revolution at the beginning of the 20th century, and the radio operator near you is playing with his antennas and making weird sounds out of them. Some years later, the same operator is in a lab extracting the same weird sounds out of a gas meter. It doesn't take long for him to start playing classical music pieces with his newly invented instrument, the theremin. The first electronic instrument created played without physical contact. You just wave your hands in the air. If you ever heard an eerie or spooky sound out of a sci-fi horror movie from the 40s, 50s, ooh, that's a theremin. Second scenario, you are a teenage student in a developing country with one of the poorest responses to the COVID pandemic, like Brazil. You have spent the last 2 years locked at home, and with all your social interactions taking place online, from friends to school. During this time, there was no prospect of when it would end or when you would receive a vaccine to protect yourself from the virus that took almost 1 million lives of our compatriots. Then, we can arrive at the third scenario, my research. I brought this exotic instrument, the theremin, to reach these students and increase the engagement in science and art. 12 encounters were held with 4 classes of 20 students between 13 and 15 years old, and data was collected before, during, and after these meetings, with interviews, focus groups, and my own reflective journal. The students experimented with the instrument, and even without any prior music training, they were able to play with it, due to the close relation the theremin has with image, gesture, and sound. They told stories, using their own creative capacity in the out-of-this-world sounds of the theremin, and composed their own music using alternative music notation, this colored one here in the corner. Then, we built our own optical theremins. But the fun part is, they were divided into 3 groups, and each group learned how to make a third of the process. So when they were brought all together, they had to rely on peer-to-peer teaching and learning to have their own instrument built. And at the end of the workshops, all students were able to bring their own instrument home in perfect working order. So this is what my research is about, improving student engagement through art and electronics. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Great. So the judges are working hard. Each of these topics are so interesting. We only get a taste of them. Well, I'd like to welcome to the stage Rebecca Connor. Rebecca is speaking tonight about the effects of management on the welfare and behaviour of captive Kiwi.
A few months ago, my phone started blowing up with messages. Rebecca, Rebecca, have you seen the news? After quickly confirming that the world chocolate supply was okay and that Sir David Attenborough was still with us, I found the article everyone was pointing me to. Paora, a Kiwi at Miami Zoo, was being handled and pet under bright lights, and New Zealand was ballistic. All credit to Miami though, because as soon as this was brought to their attention, they immediately stopped the encounter, apologised, and committed to building a new home for powder within a nocturnal enclosure. The Department of Conservation is now to provide a copy of the Kiwi Husbandry Manual to all American zoos holding kiwi, which means I have to get a move on, because my research focuses on trying to fill in some of the blanks that our current knowledge and understanding leave within that very manual. You see, animals in captivity simply don't thrive if we don't get it right. Their health, longevity, breeding success, and overall well-being can all suffer if we get it wrong. And when it comes to kiwi, our national icon and much-loved taonga, there's a lot that we simply don't know. The first part of my research involved conducting a survey of 23 facilities from here and around the world, asking about how they looked after their kiwi. What I found was variation, especially between nocturnal houses. For example, kiwi were fed anywhere from once to 3 times a day. Temperature ranged from 12 to 24 degrees Celsius, and lighting varied between, is it that dark blobby thing? And, I can see its whiskers. What we need to know is what works best for kiwi and what environmental and husbandry variables they prefer, which is the next part of my research. My study is measuring the behaviour that kiwi are performing in nocturnal houses around New Zealand. This includes exactly where in the enclosure kiwi are spending their time, as well as their responses to environmental and housing variables like lighting levels, sound levels, feeding frequency, and visitor behaviour. These results will give us a much better understanding of what conditions are best for kiwi in captivity. This will feed directly into improving the Kiwi Husbandry Manual, resulting in better well-being and welfare for our captive kiwi both here and around the world, including powder.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Hope people are keeping their own notes for people's choice. Okay, we're ready for our next speaker. Our next presenter is William Alush. William is speaking tonight about low-carbon regenerative houses powered by trees and plants towards circularity in the construction sector. Welcome, William.
Does anyone know or remember Lego blocks? You know these little toys that you can use to assemble and disassemble structures? Well, I believe that they can be key to address the current environmental impact of our construction sector. Because today, our buildings consume 4 out of 5 of the most energy-intensive materials, and they generate about 1/3 of the world's waste. In other words, our buildings contribute massively to global warming even before they are built. And since they are not designed for the reuse or repair of building components, or even just the recycling of building materials, well, they generate a lot of waste. And that's why, through my research, I aim to develop my own Lego blocks, made from low-carbon and recyclable materials, and that can be used to easily assemble a building that we can deconstruct later on when we need to. My research methods involve using computer simulation to assess if plant and wood-based materials that are renewable as well can be used in the structure of the building instead of current synthetic building materials. And once I have found my technical concept, I will be able to prototype my self-made Lego blocks to assess experimentally the assembly-disassembly potential. But why am I so interested in plants or biomass in general? Well, we do have the technologies today to extract natural fibers from plants and engineer them into strong recyclable building materials. And wood is naturally ideal for construction because of its low density, high mechanical properties, and the potential for it to be reused or recycled into something useful. But what I find most interesting with plants or biomass is that during its growth, it captures CO2 from the atmosphere that can be locked away in buildings for a long time. And I am particularly interested in fast-growing plants, such as straw or hemp or flax, that can capture significant amounts of CO2, just like timber, but it does so in a very short time, a few years, a few months even, and that can have an immediate effect on global warming. But if we want to achieve these environmental benefits, we have to keep the biomass in use as long as possible. And that's why I also research how we can design our building components to be assembled in a reversible manner, just like fitting them together like Lego blocks. And once we do that, at the end of the building's life, well, we can easily separate the building components and the building materials to reuse or recycle them independently. And the carbon that was stored in the first building life can be stored again in the next building life, and the next, and the next. So yes, I still find inspiration in my favorite childhood toys, but don't worry, I will not go after your Lego blocks after this. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, William. All right, we're ready for our next speaker. I'm delighted to welcome Amber Bell to the stage. Amber Bell is speaking to the title Heavy Metal Pollutants and Honeybee Health. Welcome, Amber.
Honeybees. You probably don't realise how much of an impact these cute little creatures have on your everyday lives. Approximately 1/3 of global food production relies on animal pollination, with a significant portion being done by the humble honeybee. Unfortunately, in the past couple of decades, honeybee colony loss rates have rapidly increased, and it's important that we determine the causes to try and mitigate them. An understudied cause is the effect of heavy metals on honeybees. Metals occur in the environment through natural processes, but human activity also plays a major role. Cadmium from superphosphate fertilisers, copper fungicides in orchards, and lead from the era of leaded fuels are just a few examples. Metals don't break down, and these end up in the nectar and the pollen that our bees forage to take back to feed the hive, potentially causing adverse effects to the health of the entire colony. So, for my research, I wanted to answer 3 questions. 1. In New Zealand, what metals are getting into our hives? I will collect and analyse the metal content of bees and bee products from hives across the Waikato and the surrounding regions. 2. If these metals are ending up in our bees, where are they accumulating? And 3, how are these metals affecting the health of our individual bees and therefore the health of our entire colony? To answer these last 2 questions, I will take newly emerged bees into the lab and feed them with sugar solutions laced with various metals at environmentally relevant concentrations. Food consumption and mortality will be monitored over a 20-day period. After which, I'll take the bees' bodies and analyse them to determine where these metals are accumulating, such as the head or the abdomen. Further analysis will be carried out to see if this accumulation is affecting specific cellular processes within those areas of the body. These methods will give us a better understanding of the mechanism by which these metals affect the health of individual bees. I will then carry out the similar experiments, but with entire colonies, to see if what we observe in the lab matches with what we might see in our actual hives. With this information, beekeepers will be better informed on the risks of heavy metals to honeybee health, which may influence things like their choice of hive placement, maybe away from areas of heavy traffic, or decrease the use of agrochemicals in the hive vicinity, to hopefully keep our bees happy, healthy, and pollinating. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you, Amber. Thank you very much. Lovely. All right, we're ready for the next. Thank you. So our next speaker is David Try. David will speak about from heat maps to hypergraphs, visualising language data in Aotearoa. So thank you, David. Welcome to the stage.
It's no secret that we live in a data-driven society. Information is everywhere, and visualizations are extremely helpful for finding meaning in the madness. They can aid comprehension, communicate a message, or influence decision-making. Crucially, they often lead to insights that would otherwise be missed. But here's the rub. There's no one chart type or visualization technique to rule them all. The best visualization to use in a given context depends on a variety of factors, including, but not limited to, the type of data, its size, structure, and complexity. My research focuses on developing visualization techniques for two specific kinds of data: categorical data, as shown in the heat map on the left, and set-based data, as shown in the node diagrams on the right. When I say categorical data, I mean variables like ethnicity, which have distinct categories, Mauri, Pākehā, etc., rather than numeric values. Because I'm a linguist at heart, I wanted to apply these techniques to language analysis. But bear in mind that the techniques can be generalized to categories and sets from any domain: business, science, sport, you name it. The heat map on the left relates to Māori language use on Twitter. This was before the Elon Musk administration. Among other things, it shows us that Māori language tweeters tend to be Māori, female, and based in New Zealand. But what makes this heat map special? Well, unlike other techniques, which aren't very scalable, it's designed for handling lots of categories. I created an interactive heat map explorer, which allows you to change the mapping of the data and perform statistical tests. I'm interested in visualizing not just the speakers of a language, but also what they say. In one study, I analyzed sets of Māori words used in newspaper articles. This is where the three node diagrams come into play. In the first diagram, which has been simplified, two loanwords are connected if they co-occur in one or more articles. However, this network only shows pairs of loans, not the potentially larger sets of loans in each article. Colour is used to encode extra information, in this case number of words. The second diagram preserves the sets while also showing how often they occur, and the third diagram breaks down the sets in relation to the coloured attribute. These visualizations highlight that Māori loanwords tend not to occur in isolation. If you use one, you probably use many. I'm passionate about creating powerful visualizations that help users to uncover hidden meaning, because data plus visualization equals insights. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Great. Wonderful. We're ready for our next presenter. I'm pleased to welcome Yuzhong Zhang to the stage. Yuzhong is speaking about mobility of urban diversity policy between rhetoric and reality. Welcome, Yuzhong.
When I was 10 years old, I spent a year in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I formed a lot of good memories, but I still faced challenges as an outsider in society. I was once bullied at school for being Asian. I remember how sad and shocked I was. This experience as a young migrant became deeply embedded in my identity, and it sparked my interest in the experiences of migrants around the world, particularly in South Korea. Korea, considering itself as an ethnically homogeneous country, opened its door to migrants only since the 1990s. Now, to deal with growing urban diversity, Korea often refers to the policies of other countries. In 2020, Ansan, a city with the largest migrant population in Korea, adopted the Intercultural Cities program. Launched by the Council of Europe, it aims for social inclusion of migrants through their daily interaction with local people. Currently, it has over 100 participant cities around the world, showing the power and mobility of this policy. Well, when we think about how policy ideas travel, we often assume that a policy's reputation will guarantee a smooth transition in a new context. But the reality is, a new policy often undergoes unexpected twists as it gets translated into a new context. To investigate the implementation of the Intercultural Cities program in Ansan, I conducted critical discourse analysis of key documents, as well as interviews with local stakeholders. I found a notable gap between rhetoric and lived reality. Whereas Ansan actively promoted itself as an intercultural city, the local people weren't aware of it. So, why does this happen? The program was adopted shortly before the local election, which influenced how it was framed in Ansan. To attract voters, politicians try to portray the current status of the cities in positive ways by emphasizing the city's connection to the European Cities program. So, the focus was on publicly announcing, we are endorsed by the Council of Europe as an intercultural city, which did not involve sufficient discussion with different local stakeholders. So what does this research tell us? Imagine if you wanted a house renovation, but only ended up with a paint job. We need to look into the context and the implementation process when introducing a new policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Yuzhong. Great. we're ready for our next speaker. I'm pleased to welcome Larissa Koff to the stage. Larissa is speaking tonight, Unveiling Hidden Truths, the Hunt for Defects with Thermography. Welcome, Larissa.
Who has driven, walked, or cycled across a bridge today? My daily commute takes me across a steel bridge, one very similar to Victoria Bridge. Have you ever paused for a moment, wondering what's happening behind the coating? Okay, maybe that's an engineer's thing to do. Why? Well, we know that rust can affect most metals and eventually lead to failure. So we paint parts to protect them. But coatings aren't foolproof, and rust can form behind the paint, hidden out of sight, and go unnoticed until it's too late for repairs. So, what if we can find a way to detect it earlier and fix the rust before it becomes a problem? And that's where my research comes in. I use what is called thermography. It's a non-invasive way of inspecting a part for defects, like rust or cracks. It only needs a small heat source, like a camera flash, and a thermal camera. Downside, it's pretty slow, since you can only inspect a small area at a time. You'd have to do over 30,000 individual tests just to inspect one of those arches in the photo. Sounds like a lot? Well, I thought so. So I'm developing a different method to allow for quicker inspection of large structures like bridges and planes. You might think, come on, Larissa, easy. Just put the camera on a robot and scan across the surface. Well, two problems with that. Firstly, we need a more concentrated heat source. So think back to your childhood of using a magnifying glass and the sun to burn holes in paper, and we can use that idea to concentrate the heat. Second problem, how much data do you think you're going to have to store and look at to do 30,000 tests? A lot, but that is what currently happens in industry. A highly trained operator has to sit there analysing every single image. Mistakes are bound to happen, and it all costs a lot of money. The result? Only critical areas are inspected, and often defects are missed. But here's the exciting part, I have a solution. Using over 2,000 data sets, I've developed an algorithm that can autonomously detect corrosion on the coatings. Even better, it can tell you exactly how much corrosion there is. Now, I'm not done with what I want to do, but initial tests using a curved mirror to concentrate the heat, a moving sample, and my algorithm look promising, and I have been able to detect and quantify the size of defects. So, on your way home tonight, take a moment to notice all the structures we encounter, like the bridge so many of us drive across every day, or the building we're in, and think about how thermography and my research can help detect problems early and keep all of us safe. Thank you.
Larissa, brilliant. Right, we're ready for our next presenter, Rachel Barbich Crawford. Rachel will speak to the title, Effects of Environmental and Behavioural Factors on Fish Swimming Performance and Passage Success. Rachel, welcome to the stage.
Imagine you're 40 weeks pregnant, you've just gone into labor, and your contractions are getting closer together. You're racing against time to reach the hospital. As you're on the road, you come face to face with a giant boulder. There is no getting around this roadblock. You're stuck with nowhere to go. This is the fate of our freshwater fish. Many of our fish must fight against man-made roadblocks as they migrate upstream. One of the most common roadblocks are culverts, which pipe rivers and streams under roads. Culverts can create fish passage barriers, like the one in the slide, preventing fish from completing their life cycle. There are millions of fish passage barriers around the world, leading to population declines and even local extinctions. Here in New Zealand, over half our river network is practically inaccessible to our native fish. In order to remediate these barriers and create healthy ecosystems for our fish and humans, we need evidence-based solutions. One of the key pieces of information we need is to understand the water velocity that a fish can swim against. Essentially, how fast can they swim? Which is where my research comes in. Understanding the swimming ability of migratory whitebait, bullies, and eels. I do this by placing them in a fish treadmill, where I adjust things like water speed and temperature. I'm also examining how things like behavioral factors such as schooling and environmental factors such as temperature influence swimming ability. One of the biggest takeaways from my research so far is that swimming ability is highly variable. Not only did we find significant differences in swimming ability between species, we also found significant differences within each species, indicating that not every individual within a species is able to swim at the same speed. This is a problem, because most of our solutions are designed to the average swimming fish. To put this into perspective, imagine you're in a group of students racing to catch the school bus home, but only the fastest 50% of you will be able to make it on that bus, leaving everyone else behind. This highlights the need to design solutions to the lowest common denominator. We would never leave behind 50% of our students, so we shouldn't leave behind 50% of our fish. We know that most of our fish swim faster and some swim slower, but most solutions are designed to the average swimming fish. If we only do this, then half of our fish are stuck at the bottom of a culvert, unable to complete their life cycle, leading to potential population collapse. Here's some food for thought. If we don't notice when we're driving over a stream, then a fish shouldn't notice when it's swimming under a road, and that's why fish passage matters. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you very much. We are now ready for our last presenter, our last finalist. Please welcome to the stage Roshana Kamran, who is speaking to the title Exploring Bullying Against University Teachers in Pakistan, a Corrosive Workplace Issue. Welcome, Roshana.
Good evening. So, workplace bullying. What is workplace bullying? Workplace bullying breaks heart, lowers morale, decreases the drive and passion, and the confidence to do productive and meaningful work. So what is bullying? Bullying encompasses workplace harassment in all forms, from verbal abuse, physical intimidation, to social isolation. Statistical data shows that workplace bullying is a common phenomenon worldwide, with the highest reporting cases in America, 40%, UK, 38%, Brazil, India, China, 28, 26, 24%. However, with respect to Pakistan, there is a paucity of research on the topic. Only 37 studies have been conducted in the last 20 years with respect to educators facing bullying at tertiary level. My research is my quantitative research focuses on the perspective, experience, and coping strategies of teachers who have encountered incidents of bullying in their professional life. The existing research shows that the victim deals with the phenomena on individual basis, and the role of organization is missing to address this repulsive act. The research is further going to highlight some of the reasons why there is a scarcity of research on the topic. One being the taboo attached to this topic. People are reluctant to talk about their bullying experience with the fear that they will be considered weak and incompetent. Another reason is the patriarchal culture that is prevalent in Pakistani society. Men are given more importance than women, and women are often not taken seriously when they are reporting cases like this. The limited empirical data on workplace bullying with respect to Pakistani ATIs is a clear indication that we need more serious research to understand this corrosive workplace issue. My research is an important step in addressing this gap in knowledge and developing effective interventions to prevent and address workplace bullying in Pakistani ATIs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roshana. We've come to the end of the presentations of the finalists, but I'd like all of the finalists to come back on the stage together. Pop back up on the stage and we will thank you for your amazing presentations. And Roshana is coming back too. And here she is. All right. So please join with me to celebrate. Well done, everyone. It's been really hard for me not to talk about your talks in between each one because I wanted to interact with all of the topics. So thank you so much for delivering such wonderful presentations. And when I watched them come down and sit down, you could just feel the anxiety melt away. They just sunk into their seats and congratulated each other when the next speaker came back to sit down. So I'm really delighted. And I bet you're all really delighted that it's all over at this point, so well done. Another round of applause, I think. So let me just explain what will happen now. Shortly we'll go to have a break, intermission. So what will happen during the time we have before coming back is that you must vote for the People's Choice Award. So don't forget to scan the QR code. You can find it in the program. It's right there. Also for people who don't have a phone or have flat battery or whatever it is, there is a School of Graduate Research person ready to help you to do a manual vote. So no one is left behind in terms of voting for the People's Choice. And you'll have about 20 minutes from the break before we close that vote for you. So please get onto it as soon as you go to the intermission. We also have, the cash bar is open, of course, and there's some refreshments there as well. And while you're out having a break, our judges will be working hard on their notes and deliberating on the winner and the runner-up. Oh, I've run out of time. We actually are very good for time. We're a bit ahead of time, but I will let you go and have a break. So do be back here by about 8:15 would be fantastic. Please relax, enjoy the facilities, and come back, and then we'll start our second part of this evening with a presentation by the master's thesis winner. So Poppy Romero will be giving a presentation before we go on to do the awarding. So thank you everyone for your attention, and we'll see you back here very shortly. Thank you. Well, we are at that exciting part of the evening. The judges have deliberated, they have made their decisions. Before we hear what their decisions are, I'm really delighted to be able to introduce the Master's Thesis winner. And the Master's Thesis winner is Poppy Romera, and she has spoken, and this is what she won on, above ground restoration in urban green spaces, can it promote human and wildlife health by influencing their microbiomes? So I welcome Poppy to the stage to give us her Master's Thesis presentation, the winning one. Thank you.
Over half of humans now live in cities which cover less than 3% of Earth's surface. Cities are usually established in areas of naturally high biodiversity, rich in native species that are now exposed to anthropogenic factors such as fragmentation and exotic species introductions. I'm investigating how restoring soil biodiversity in urban green spaces can promote human health. An urban green space is a complex ecosystem found largely below ground that sustains plants, animals, and microbes. Your local city forest is an example of an urban green space. Emerging evidence suggests that exposure to soil biodiversity within these urban green spaces can promote human and wildlife health by influencing our microbiomes. If that's true, that would suggest that restoring urban green spaces with the goal of enhancing soil biodiversity could have positive, profound effects on the health of people living near these restored forests. However, the development of soil biodiversity following above-ground restoration is poorly understood, as are the pathways through which people are exposed to that biodiversity. So, I'm contributing to the development of our knowledge by studying how animals and microbes in the soil respond to urban restoration across Aotearoa. To do that, I'm using soil samples taken from a set of sites across the country that share similar environmental attributes but span a range of different ages. We call that a chronosequence, and having one to take samples from is fundamental because they can be used to understand ecosystems and measure their critical characteristics. Our results will inform important guidelines for designing above-ground restoration plantings that will support diverse soil microbes important for supplying that beneficial microbial exposure for humans and wildlife in Aotearoa. And by investigating that, I plan to shed light on the often overlooked black box of below-ground biodiversity, which might be critical for promoting the health of humans in our cities. David Attenborough once said, "Nature once determined how we survived. Now we determine how nature survives." Let's reframe that. We do still rely on nature to survive. So we must now figure out how we can help nature help us. Thank you.
Wonderful. We can see why she's a winner. That was brilliant. Thank you, Poppy. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to invite people to the stage. So I'm going to invite all of our contestants tonight to come to the stage. Contestants who we've heard give their wonderful talks. And also I'd like the judges to join us on the stage and Wiremu Puke to the stage as well. So please come on. So what we'll do is the judges all have different roles here, and the first judge will be giving some overall feedback and also announcing the People's Choice Award. And then The second judge will announce the runner-up, and then before we announce the winner tonight, we will ask Wiremu to speak about the tonga, that is the award, the Professor John D. McCraw Award. So I welcome Mike up to the stage, to the mic, to tell us a little bit about your overall impressions, thank you, before announcing the People's Choice.
Kia ora koutou. It's been an absolute privilege to be here tonight to listen to next generation of our researchers. I really believe that research is a service to our community. We're the developers, the custodians of the knowledge of our communities, and we serve our communities through the information that we provide to help address problems of today and tomorrow. I was really impressed with our group of researchers here. I think they have really epitomised through the 3MT how you communicate technical information and really valuable information in a very short amount of time. It was a very difficult role for we judges to come up with the winner and the runner-up. I think there was only half a point separating, so very, very close, and I really do thank all the finalists for their great presentations tonight. But I will start with presentation of the People's Choice Award, which you lovely people and folks online have voted for. And tonight, the winner of the Doctoral Competition 2023 People's Choice Award is Larissa Kopf.
Congratulations. And the next judge who is going to announce the runner-up, I invite Rachel to the mic to do that. Thank you, Rachel.
Kia ora koutou. Malo lele, warm Pacific greetings. It's wonderful to be here this evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be one of the three judges. This evening, as we were deliberating upstairs, as you heard, it was only by half a point. But I would like to say congratulations to all of you who were very brave and courageous to be here this evening. I brought my 14-year-old son, who goes to St. John's, and he's preparing for his speech. And so I'm sure he learnt a lot this evening. So without further ado, I'd like to congratulate Larissa Kopf as the runner-up for this evening. Thank you.
Congratulations, Larissa, on that runner-up award. And please, Wiremu, it would be wonderful if you could speak to us about the award. Thank you.
Kei te mihi atu ki o koutou katoa ki roto te kaupapa o tēnei pō. Ki a koe e te whanaunga, e whetu, tō mihi whakatau, e tēnei pō. Ki te tēpū, ki ngā kai whakahaere, mihi atu. I'm only going to give myself about 2 minutes. I used to think Barbie was a barbecue. But now I have to go to a movie and educate myself what a Barbie is. So anyway, look, it's a pleasure to be here tonight and to acknowledge the hard work of the students at our PhD, the cream of our crop. Just reflection on the late Professor John McCraw. Professor McCraw was the foundation professor of earth sciences here at the university. And we sparked quite a close association and friendship because he was one of the very few professors at the time who knew how to bridge mātauranga Māori and science together through the lens of earth sciences. So Professor McCraw and I, for many, many years, we looked at the geology of our region, we looked at the traditional stone sources and things like that, soils. And I do miss him. But the trophy that is there is a near exact replica of one in the British Museum. I'm quite tempted to take that one to London and bring back the real one. They wouldn't know. But the symbol of the tiki wānanga was something that was held in very high esteem in our traditional schools of learning, the whare wānanga. And that was usually just held by the tohunga ahurua. That was the most learned of our ancient ancestors in various realms, from astronomy, earth science, knowing everything about the environment and about the taiao. So without further ado, that is the John McCraw Memorial Trophy there, and again, I'm really thankful to be here tonight to present this trophy. Kia ora tātou.
Tēnā koe, Wiremu. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you here. But I won't keep us any longer. I'm going to invite Parekawhia to come to the mic and announce our overall winner for tonight's 3MT Finals.
Tuatahi, tēnā koe e te rangatira Wiremu. Mō aua kōrero, tēnā hoki koutou katoa e rau rangatira mā huri no te whare, tēnei te mihi atu, tēnā koutou, pai mariri kia tātou katoa, ko wai te kai whiwhi, who has taken out this year's 3MT Doctoral competition for 2023 on behalf of ngā kaiwhaka wā, ngā judges. We're really delighted and honoured to welcome you, Rebecca Connor. Ko mai te papi.
Gosh, what an amazing event. A round of applause again for all of the contestants. Congratulations, all of you, for giving such wonderful presentations and being here at this stage and delivering so well to us. We've really been treated to incredible research and wonderful communication. So thank you so much. I extend a huge thank you also to our judges. Thank you very much for also being here and doing the job of that difficult job of deciding who the winner and the runner-up was or is. And we know that you're very busy people, but I think, Mike, as you mentioned at the start, it's a real honour to hear this work and this research that's happening. So thank you to the judges. I'd also really like to thank all of you for being here tonight, for supporting your person or your people, for being supervisors or whānau or friends, whatever your role is. We can't get to this high standard without all of you, so give yourselves a clap as well. So that leaves us with just some closing remarks and closing karakia, and a big thank you from me again to all the work that's gone in, particularly from the School of Graduate Research, to get this running. It's a big event with a big events team, so thank you to all of you as well, and thank you, Whatu, for finishing us. Thank you.
Usually I just say the karakia, but I'm going to say one thing. I'm a graduate of the management school, Te Raupapa, and also of Te Piringa Faculty of Law. Notice none of them made the final as anyone from my schools. I don't know if that's because law is just boring and it's very hard to sex up accounting or economics or things like that, but I'll be talking to the respective Pro-Vice Chancellors to see what's going on in my schools. But no, what an enjoyable evening. Let us close now. Kia tau, kia tātou katoa, te ata whai o tō tātou ariki, Aihu Kraisi, me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga, ki te wairua tapu, ake, amene. Blessings and safe home. Kia ora tātou.